Hi, my name is Norma Johnson. Just to give you a little bit of background about me and my qualifications, I am a career pharmacist. I spent 22 years with a large national chain. In 2020, I became a licensed insurance agent. And for over 2 decades, I have been involved in Medicare Part D. And I've been very passionate about helping consumers find savings on prescription drugs. So much so that I am also the founder and CEO of Strategies for RX Savings. And that is a digital platform that encompasses all forms of savings, whether patient assistance, whether foundational grants, cost plus models, discount cards, trial cards, international methods, manufacturing discount cards. I have it in my Strategies RX database in order to help consumers around the country find affordable options when maybe their insurance isn't enough. They still can't afford their medications. What I want to address as quickly as I can today in the environment that we are in going into annual enrollment period, which we know starts October 15th and runs to December 7th, we are in an environment that is becoming more complex, and it is positioning insurance agents around the country to where they are not going to be as involved as we need them to be in helping consumers identify which standalone prescription drug plan is best for them. And that is because, unfortunately, because of the environment and the pressures of drug costs, the Inflation Reduction Act, the end of the Demonstration Act that was instituted or initiated last summer, that has carried us through this year. That actually ends December 31st of 2025. So now the risk corridor protections that these standalone PDP plans had is going to be removed. And now they are definitely going to have to cover drug costs, which we know is substantial, by premiums as well as plan design. In doing that, because they are trying to save as much money as possible, they are making their plans non-commissionable, which honestly, the commission was pennies. Really a low commission for insurance agents to help consumers anyways. But as being an independent insurance agent, most insurance agents, especially the independents, the ones that are not calling from call centers, are very passionate. We are very passionate and very loyal to our clients, and we would help them even though the commission rate was really low. But unfortunately, with these plans becoming non-commissionable, it is not economically viable for an agent to be helpful, or an agent is going to end up doing it for free, which you cannot work for free. We don't make livings that way. Some will still do it, thank goodness. But unfortunately, many will not. And that is going to leave consumers having to navigate these selections of their standalone prescription drug plans by themselves. And that is a very bad position to be in because it's more complicated than ever. The topic I wanted to cover, which I think is imperative that we spread throughout the country prior to annual enrollment period, is for the standalone PDPs. Now, this involves the Medicare Advantage plans that have drug plans in them as well. But those plans inside of the MAPDs are definitely surrounded by the healthcare benefit. So it doesn't, the consumer doesn't feel it as much. We still have quite a few plans that have flat copays in Tier 3, and Tier 3 is where the preferred brands are sitting. So flat copays are definitely better than percentages, but those plans are a little easier to understand, and while some of them won't be commissionable and offered by insurance agents, some of them will be. and therefore they will have the agent there sitting across the table with them or on the phone with them, explaining what things mean and how to navigate. My worry is the standalone PDPs where consumers are going to have to do it by themselves. So these drug plans from Medicare are really separated like in two different piles. You have a basic alternative plan and you have an enhanced alternative plan. Now, these carriers are required to let you know in their either their summary of benefit or their explanation of benefit explanation of benefit, which type of plan it is, but you can quickly identify it yourself if you know what you're looking for. So Medicare sets the prescription drug deductible every year, as well as the maximum allowed percentage for Tier 3. So Medicare for 2025, the drug deductible max was $590. For 2026, that is going to $615. Tier 3 has been set at 25% of the estimated drug cost. And that's the drug cost for the carrier. So if something like Eliquis is $600 a month, according to a carrier's plan, then it would be 25% of that $600, which would be a copay of $150 a month for that one medication. So if you're looking at a plan, how do you tell the difference between a basic and an enhanced alternative plan? Look at the drug deductible. If it is sitting at $615, and then you look at the Tier 3 copay, you can ignore the other tiers. What I want you to do for identification purposes is look at Tier 3. If it is sitting at 25%, that is a basic alternative plan. And that means that at the beginning of the year or the beginning of your usage of that plan, you will end up having to pay that drug deductible if you are on a Tier 3 medication. And it's going to be, pretty costly. That's not a low deductible by any stretch. And then you have to add on top of that the copay, which, like I said, for a $600 medication at 25%, that's $150. That becomes very unaffordable for a senior that's living on nothing but Social Security. And unfortunately, I do work on the ground, and we have a lot of those people. They don't have 401ks, they don't have a savings. They are literally living on Social Security. And if they still have a mortgage, they still have utilities, which everybody does. If they have rent because they don't own their home, they rent. Rent is going sky high. It is very difficult to survive in that situation. So people are always looking at premiums, and that's the key. I want you to understand the premiums. So if and you can see the gamut between very low cost drug plans and then those that seem, man, that's high. So it can go from this year, it can go from $0 to a little over $120 is what I've seen on average for drug plans. And that is a wide swing. So a lot of people will gravitate towards that zero premium plan. And if that plan works best for you, great. But why would somebody pay $120 for a standalone prescription drug plan? It is because of the difference between basic and enhanced and how they operate. So if somebody is only on low cost generic medications, Tier 1, Tier 2, all low cost, whether you're using your plan or maybe you're using a discount card instead of your plan, but usually those are always low cost. I would just use your plan. They're going to be affordable for most people. Those plans that are the very low dollar plans, you're going to see $615, and then you're going to see 25% in Tier 3. That is a basic alternative plan. So the plan is just structured that way. That just means you're going to have to pay that and the rest of your copays for the rest of your medications up to the max out of pocket. So in 2025, CMS has set that max out of pocket at $2,000. That is going up to $2,100 for 2026, so $100 more. So you will pay the deductible, you will pay your copays until you reach that $2,000 or $2,100 for next year. And then your drugs, everything on formulary, will be zero for the rest of the year. Versus if you were paying $120 per month and you were on, say, a few low-cost generic meds, but you were on a tier 3 medication, some brand name medication, that the estimated monthly drug cost was $400 or more. If you look on the like if you are using Medicare.gov and you put in those medications, say you put in lisinopril, you put in metformin, you put in levothyroxine, and then you put in Eliquis, or you put in Xarelto, or Entresto, or Farxiga, or Jardiance, you put in one of those brand name drugs, then you're going to see a tier 3 medication. Because really on most plans, not all, this is not an all-encompassing, but on most plans, those drugs, being that they're brand name medications, normally preferred, but that's strictly up to the carrier's formulary, you would normally see those in tier 3. So you're going to have to pay on a basic plan, you're going to pay that deductible, then you're going to pay whatever that coinsurance is until you reach the max out of pocket. If you were paying a bigger premium per month, say 120, maybe it's 97, but it doesn't have a drug deductible. A lot of times those very costly drug plans have zero drug deductible, and then they have a flat copay in tier 3. That is worth the price if you are on, say, one brand name medication, because that is an enhanced plan. And what that means is that they have built into the plan that the reason they've brought the deductible from $615 down to zero is because that plan is going to pay that deductible on behalf of the consumer. So instead of paying $2,000 or $2,100 for your max out of pocket, you can subtract $615 from that. Because even though it's not coming out of your pocket, the plan is going to cover that cost for you. And by having a flat copay in tier 3, and on average, you typically see this time of year, or during this year for 2025, we are seeing, just for example, $47. So what gets counted towards your max out of pocket would be what Medicare sets, 25% of the cost. So again, if it's a $600 brand name tier 3 medication for 1 month, 25% of that is $150. Now, if you were on the basic plan, you're getting to pay that $150. But if you're on an enhanced plan, you're going to pay $47, and $103 is going to be paid on your behalf by that plan. So $150 per month will be taken off your max out of pocket for drugs every single month that you fill that brand name medication, but you're only paying $47 of it. So if you look at Medicare.gov, if that is what you're using, if you plug in all generics, you're going to see what rises to the top are the very low cost or zero premium drug plans. And that's a perfectly fine place to be. If you are on nothing but low cost generics and you don't foresee starting a brand name medication during the course of the year, then by all means, pick a low premium basic alternative plan. There's nothing wrong with that. That's better than going without a Part D plan. You never want to do that. 1, you will get penalized. 2, there's 365 days in a year. That's a lot of time that you might end up having something happen. You need a brand name medication, and now you are exposed because you don't have coverage. Don't do that. There are a lot of lower cost drug plans. A lower cost basic drug plan is better than no drug plan at all. So let me be clear about that. But if you are on one brand name medication, then look at what comes up to the top. Even it doesn't matter how many generics you put in there. If you put that one brand name medication and that brand name medication's estimated drug cost for that plan is greater than $400, you are going to end up seeing one of the more expensive premium plans rise to the top. Now, what you end up seeing is the cost of the plan, which is the premium plus the drug cost, and then it ends up being a certain number. Keep that in mind. That's not drug cost, that's combined cost. Make sure you know what you're looking at so you're looking at the right thing. But on these enhanced plans, you are paying more for premium, so you pay less for drug cost. So in that situation, more times than not, you will see the higher premium up on top. Don't be afraid to go ahead and enroll into that plan. It is worth the money for it because it's going to save you money for the whole duration of the year. Even when you hit the max out of pocket, because you will, and you will earlier in the year, maybe 4, 5, 6 months, maybe it's even 9, 10, 11 months, but you're going to hit the max out of pocket, and then the rest of your medications or your medications will be zero for the rest of the year, but it can vary on when you hit that max out of pocket. But you're not the one that's going to be paying the whole 2,000 or 2,100 if it's next year. The plan is going to share that cost with you. So don't assume, oh, that's a high premium, I'm not going to take that. No, you must understand the benefits of both and who would likely benefit to be on those higher drug costs. Now, let me make this addition to this. So on the one hand, you're on all low-cost generics. Go on a basic alternative plan. It doesn't matter if it's zero, doesn't matter if it's in the $20, $30 range. Somewhere in there, you will be just fine as long as your drugs are on formulary. Make sure you're checking formularies. If you are on one brand name medication, and I'm saying one for a reason, if you're on one brand name medication, then chances are you're going to be better off paying a higher premium so that you pay lower drug costs and get on one of those enhanced plans. Just pick one. What you want to do is look for one that has a zero deductible if it's affordable for you, and you prefer to have a flat dollar copay in tier 3. Now, if you happen to be on some low-cost generics, you're on a brand tier 3 med, but you are also on a tier 5 medication, that changes the whole thing. So in that case, look at it as a roller coaster. You're starting down here on a basic plan because you have low-cost generics. You add end up being for you, you might take one brand name drug. So all of a sudden you're up here, you're better off with an enhanced plan. If you're taking the generics plus a tier 3 brand name med and a tier 5, now you've gone back down the slope. You're probably better off on one of those low dollar basic plans because tier 5, you're going to be paying the whole dollar amount for the coinsurance. Those are very expensive medications, so it depends on your percentage there. Medicare doesn't set that percentage, so you can see a wide range of percentages. The lower the percentage on that plan, the better, but it's still going to be very costly. So that means you're going to hit the max out of pocket with or without their help. You're going to hit that max out of pocket pretty early in the year, sometimes as early as your very first month of usage. In a case like that, there is no sense on paying a high dollar premium. Just go ahead, check the formulary, and select one of the lower cost basic alternative plans. You will be fine. But key thing, you must check formularies. Make sure your drugs are on the formulary. There might be prior authorizations on those plans, so understand a little bit of that before you go into it, but all plans tend to have those, so don't let that fear you away. But that's what I wanted to explain. I feel it's imperative that seniors, consumers, those younger people helping their parents, their grandparents. You need to understand the difference between a basic alternative and enhanced alternative this annual enrollment period so that you can help those consumers who unfortunately are not going to have an independent agent to help them. Um, you know, I wish everybody the best of luck this AEP. Definitely select a drug plan. You must have a drug plan. You don't want to leave yourself exposed by not having one. And remember, you will get penalized by Medicare if you don't have one. So there's a lot of options. So I hope this video helps. Have a great day.